I might call on Louise down there. Louise, now you're representing the Spastic Centre, and just be interested about how much you might be doing arts programs, and also to whether you tap into arts funding, and just from your perspective, and maybe Ms. Wonder.
Yeah, I sort of been thinking about where to tap into the development of the arts in the Spastic Centre. There's always been, through our community access services and the likes, well, I'll call them informal, but attempts at a whole lot of performing and creative arts activities, from doing workshops through to participating in community or being audiences or whatever. But more particularly, I suppose it's where we've been as an organisation in the last, I'll take a risk and say about 5 or 6 years, where we really sort of looked at our focus. Yes, we're a big disability organisation, and yes, we have a commitment in a whole lot of areas, from therapy to accommodation and to community access services and employment. So where do we fit with art? Where do we fit with disability arts or funding bodies like Kate? And hopefully I can give you a bit of an idea around that. We actually actively took, a couple of years ago, a very concrete look in one of our services and said, what if we had the right people here, what could we become when it came to the arts? So we actively recruited around, and we were lucky. We started off with one very, very good arts worker who happened to be a direct care worker for us, but an excellent arts worker. So she was very vital in driving this thinking and helping us to develop ideas and work with our client group around it. But from that, we really actively sought to create an environment that allowed for this experimentation in the arts. So we actively recruited, and being a disability organisation, we didn't, like all disability organisations, we didn't kind of have the resource and luxury to say, well, we've got high support needs clients, and so we'll have our direct care staff and our program staff. We didn't have that luxury. If you were a program staff, you were also direct care, and vice versa. So we, I suppose, went around the fringes of the sector where there were people who would love to be active in the arts, who trained in it but actually aren't pursuing careers in it for whatever reasons. And they actually came across to be direct care workers. So what we've done is they've learnt, I suppose, direct care, but in the throes really brought us a lot of talent. So in that, we ended up bringing in, as the arts worker that I talked about, musicians, and people with community cultural development training from overseas ended up in our program as well. They just happened to be here as travellers. Oh yeah, I'll work as direct care. And that sort of thing. So we had the drama, the dance, the music, and it just kept evolving. So then we've had different artists on staff as well in the creative arts. That took us to a new realisation that, hey, art can be really something that's not just about something, as we would have thought of 5 years ago, and I hope I'm not insulting anybody, as being something to occupy time or entertain, or there might be a little bit of skills development. What we were really using it for was about enabling that expression, because a lot of our clients, being very high physical support needs, were very high communication needs, and really didn't have those outlets that they needed. So we were actually turning it into being about life storytelling, but experience storytelling that we could share with the community. And that's the sort of the direction we took. What this then evolved into, through our very active arts worker, was that we eventually started looking outward and saying, well, can we be doing something else? Can we be offering this beyond ourselves? At the moment, we've got this little captured audience that are having a wonderful time and really developing, but what about other people? What about other arts workers? And then we went down the path of linking in with the City of Sydney and developing the Unlock Your Creativity project that runs at Redfern 10 weeks a year. So I've lost track. I've been on holidays, but I think they're in week 4 or 5 at the moment. And that evolved, and that actually then catered for any disability type adults, music, drama, dance. To me, coming from the disability sector, that's been a huge, huge challenge, because now I'm working with professional artists, and I'm finding that we see the world from very different angles. And we see what we're about from very different angles, and it's been a lot of process and a lot of really hard work for us as a disability organisation to understand the artistic professionalism and direction of the project, and for the artists to understand where we sit as a disability organisation, what we would see is the value of the project. And yeah, we have a lot of very healthy debate and good energy around it. And yes, I won't deny, sometimes it's frustrating because it's like, I've just sat here for 2 hours, but I don't think we're on the same page anymore. And since then, the project has developed and did go for Category B funding, and was successful. So we've got that support this year to develop the project, and we have the we have some funding for next year as well from another source. So we're sort of trying to piece this project together year to year, but it's how do we get longevity and how do we get that long-term development? We've got the commitment from the artists and we've got the commitment from the organisation, but it's how do we get what we need to keep going. Any ideas are more than open. But it's, I don't want to underestimate the journey our organisation has had to come through to get to where we are in that relationship with professional artists. It has not been easy because we started on different pages.
Thanks, Lois. Yeah. From my experience too, I'm actually working in the community cultural development area, and I must say that to find the right artists sometimes for projects working with communities, you might know artists, but whether they have the skills, effective skills to be able to work with communities is another thing. And you might have professional artists who also have a community cultural development background or practice, who are used to have the skills that are equipped to work with some of the groups you're talking about. There's also resources and training for community cultural development artists. I think we still have some in the state, I think, to be able to support professional artists that you might be working with, that Accessible Arts be able to tap into as well. Also, I think Accessible Arts still have their registers, right, for artists with certain skills who work with disabilities. That's also a resource as well.